Hi, welcome to Wicked Warriors tonight. I want to shout out to my better half of my twin who is sick. Hopefully, Spanny can join us on Sunday. But today I brought on Saul, who I've been talking to for months now. I've been following on Facebook. This guy has a lot of information, and I want him to share it with you. And then we talk, you share this video everywhere, okay? And I mean everywhere. So I asked him because I told him apparently I am not articulating correctly how to use the Chevron case with child support and CPS cases. Um, and even if I am articulating it right, I think people are scared because they're not me and they're not Saul and they're not Osiris and they're not all these strong backbone advocates. So, anyway, without further ado, Saul, explain how the Chevron case affects child support, CPS, the whole alphabet.
The Chevron doctrine is based off of two linear Supreme Court cases that had to deal with the executive branch's decisions. So what it did was it caused the judiciary to be foreclosed from hearing arguments or rationale. So this is why the judges have been ignoring you when you bring up your constitutional rights, and we're not here for that. And because they were statutorily forced to disregard that in lieu of their oath of office, in violation of their oath of office, which they have there's no immunity to an oath of office violation. There's no statute of limitations. Okay, so these individuals decided, basically that they were going to give the executive.
Oh, I think we lost him, but hold on. I think he'll be back. I think he's articulating it much better than me. So let's see if he comes back. Yeah, Spanny's out. She's sick, but I hope she sees the alert or got the notification so that she can join us if she can. So here he comes. Hold on. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm back.
That's okay. Go ahead.
So the Chevron doctrine makes it so that the judge cannot hear arguments, testimony, or rationale from anybody before them. So you coming in there talk about your civil rights, they're not here for that. They're going to ignore it. Okay, the Chevron doctrine also was a big cause where it's a violation of the separation of powers doctrine because the executive branch is being allowed to substitute their decisions for that of the judiciary. So the agency is allowed to substitute its decisions, and the judge has to go based off of that, not based off of the law or based off of whatever.
Sort of like going to play poker, the house always wins.
Right. So the solution to that is it violates the separation of powers doctrine. Therefore, the statute is unconstitutional. If one part of a statute be unconstitutional, the whole thing's unconstitutional. Therefore, Title IV is unconstitutional. The whole thing needs to be revoked. It needs to be shut down. I'm going to shut them all down now. In fact, the thing with the Chevron doctrine that people don't get is that now you can go in front of a federal judge and you can plead your case for your rights, where before they used to block you. But they like to use judicial immunity, or they will use the Rooker-Feldman doctrine, which no longer stands. Both of those cases were overturned, and as I know it, Rooker-Feldman violates separation of powers as well.
Yes.
as well as violating the original jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, which is kind of messed up. But they use the 11th Amendment to do it. But if the 11th Amendment applies to them in suits where we sue them, then the original suit they had against us is also under that same immunity. So they can't claim 11th Amendment immunity, or they can't sue us or do anything to us or act on us or our progeny or anything of that sort.
Right. Because the point would be mute.
Also, removal of one's human offspring without strict scrutiny is that is a violation of a fundamental right. A fundamental right is one that is ingrained in American tradition. So that's treason.
You know, it just blows my mind, right? Because first of all, they should not write books for people like us to read, because for me, it just
That's
gives me
dangerous.
more power.
Oh yeah, that's more ammo. And check this out. So the Chevron doctrine, with that being overturned, it's a double-edged sword in a sense. Okay, so the judges have discretion over these cases now. They can make their own decisions. Most of them judges have been living fat on the bribes that have been being provided under the Title 4D incentives under incentive payments to states.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So since the jurisdiction is contractual and bribe, they don't have jurisdiction. Two, they don't have jurisdiction. The state doesn't, because the state's the one bringing the claim against you, but the IVD agency is not a state agency. That is a federal entity operating within the state.
And I tell people that. Why are you in the state courts and not in federal court?
That is in proper jurisdiction, correct. It technically should be in Supreme Court, because this should be being litigated for unconstitutionality, because it's all over their codes. They got deprivation of due process by statute. They got fucking they'll come and take your car. They'll take you to jail. They'll take your dog. They'll take away your home. They'll do anything possible to get you to pay the debt that they say that you owe them, right? Okay. If Title 4D was ever intended to benefit women and children of needy families, then why is the state treasury so worried about your personal life? Also, here's another thing. They already got Supreme Court case law. Blessing versus Freestone. We Hunt versus Ledbetter. United States versus Sage. We got Franconia versus Associates. It says they don't have any immunity because they have involved themselves with commercial paper, of which their obligations are, the United States owns all obligations. So not only does it own the debt, it owns the duty of paying that debt. Yep. So debtor's prison is abolished under it's 42 USC 1994. Peonage has hereby been abolished. That's where you get held under a system of labor to pay off a debt under threat of incarceration. Okay, that's what they do with wage garnishment, because if you look at 31 USC 3720D, which is the wage garnishment codes, if you look in there, they have provisions that allow them to deprive the non-custodial party of due process rights by issuing wage garnishment without a judicial proceeding, because these are administrative hearings, which makes this a bill of attainder.
Which you're right. It goes against the 14th Amendment, because you are supposed to have the right to due process before they steal your money, your property.
In your particular instance, yeah, you totally got something there, but you got them totally, because look, if they deprived you of your property, your life, liberty, or happiness, or pursuit of happiness or property, because that's all protected, that's all included. It brings it forth from the Declaration of Independence into the Constitution. It's supposed to be made stronger, not weaker. Therefore, the Declaration sets out that we have the inherent right to pursuit of happiness, which includes the raising and rearing of one's family and human offspring, which is a fundamental right.
Yep, it sure is.
Touch that. They're not supposed to be touching that. They're not supposed to be accepting bribes. I bet you they don't have an anti-bribery statement. I bet you they don't got, I bet you they won't provide you their oath of office. And their bond, you can find that under the CFR because these motherfuckers are the only people not bonded regularly with the courts. This is why you can't find your court records on these cases, because these are not court hearings. This is not a court of law. They're operating outside of the Constitution. They're criminals now. See? So now you can go after them.
So look, the child support agency placed a lien on my checking account, right? Because my husband supposedly owes them all this. So I go to the courthouse because I already told these motherfuckers my will is stronger than the United States put together. I'm not bending. I'm not breaking. I will not concede, and I will not consent.
Did you go down to that bank and dispute it with them?
I disputed with them too, but they were like,
the courthouse won't prosecute because the agency gives them immunity, which means the agency is ultimately responsible for what has been done.
So look, I go down to the courthouse
and
they said, well, do you have the child support order? I said, if it's a court order, according to you all, why is it not here in the courthouse? And why does child support happen?
It's not. Yep. There's no court order for child support. Doesn't exist.
And I use United States versus Sage. I told the judge, you need to read the United States versus Sage because the Supreme Court clearly says it is.
And you were right on the money, gal. You were right on the money with that.
He rolled his eyes.
You gonna roll his eyes at you.
He rolled his eyes.
They got a little slush fund.
Of course they do. It's their retirement.
Yeah, well, that means now the judge has a financial interest in a proceeding before him, and he must recuse himself.
They're crazy. They're crazy, but they think...
You see, they think they can operate outside of the Constitution because of the Commerce Clause or this or that. They operate within the Admiralty jurisdiction. I have been able to find they are operating under the Uniform Commercial Code. And when you try to use it against them, they will label you a sovereign citizen.
Now, listen, I don't do the sovereign citizen stuff because that shit will get you thrown in jail here.
Me
but
neither.
What you're not going to do is tell me, as a certified constitutional teacher, because I've been certified to teach it, you're not going to tell me that I don't have any fucking rights. You got shit fucked up.
Right.
And I told him that. I said,
you're right.
Play somebody who's been certified to teach the Constitution and that who is an advocate in this area and across the United States who's actually helped getting laws changed. I said, I'm coming for child support next. That's what I told him.
Yeah, I have just issued a video for the Secretary for the Department of Health and Human Services. I hope he's ready. I hope he has every attorney in the entire Bar Association because he's going to need all of them. He's going to need all of them. And he still won't win against me.
They're part of it.
He is the head of the agency. He is the entity. He is the one that is responsible for Title IV and all this. He's basically the health secretary of the whole United States. And I have him violating his oath of office right here on video.
And he does CPS too. Look.
It's all contracts.
Right. Not only that.
Contracts are under commerce. It's all under the Commerce Clause. They operate outside the Constitution. That's why they laugh.
Okay.
But they're going to be laughing when the Constitution reaches out and smacks them in the face.
Exactly. Because I don't care who you are, and I say this on a daily basis.
Because the last time I checked, there's an American flag outside on that pole, buddy.
Not only that, the Bill of Rights, and I learned this when I took my course to become certified to teach the Constitution. The Bill of Rights is a restraining order against the government for the people.
Yeah. Literally.
Literally.
And then they got in there somehow and amended it with the 11th Amendment, trying to protect the state government from the federal government.
But the only way, and this is what I understand, the only sovereign part for the 11th Amendment is supposed to be the state, not the actors.
Yep, correct. That's correct. So look, you take the 11th Amendment, and if you apply it to Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2, you get the modern Article 3, Section 2, Clause 2, and you can just go ahead and scrap the 11th Amendment because it's become part of the original article. Now you have what it says now, which doesn't say state actor. And it doesn't mention them in their private capacity. It only talks about in their official capacity. Also, here's another thing. These are, this is deprivation of rights under color of state law, 42 USC 1983, because they are pretending that they are a state, when in fact, the IVD agency, according to their own definitions, is not a state agency. It is within a state.
Right.
It is placed within the Office of Attorney General or the friend of the court, or it is placed within there, or a separate agency in the state is made. But it's not a state agency. It's not of the state. That is distinct, which means they're claiming they're a state actor and they're bringing charges against you when they're not a state actor. That's color of state law. They're depriving you of your rights, your right to familial association, your right to associate or not associate, both intimately and expressively, with whosoever you so choose, your right to participate or not participate in commerce, your right to contract your labor and your time on this earth as you see fit, not as some capricious organization sees fit, American jurisprudence. I hit them with everything.
So, I don't know if you watched the video with me and Osiris.
Oh, I have. I loved it.
Well, thank you.
He's a wonderful guy. I talked to him. He's like a brother, man. He used to serve in the military, and they were not expecting a war vet to stand up for his rights.
Well, they were shocked. So, like I was telling him, because not only should people
We'll help you with that bank levy, by the way. Go ahead.
Okay. So not only should people not only be using the federal Constitution and the Bill of Rights, they also should be using their state.
It lines up. The state constitution must line up with the federal constitution. If you use both, it's more powerful. Yes. And you'll find in your state statutes and codes that they're violating those too. The same ones that reflect the federal codes that are in the United States Code. I have the statutes at large, rules of federal civil, federal rules of civil procedure, the rules of criminal procedure, the rules of evidence. I've got the Supreme Court case dockets on every child support or familial rights case law you could think of. I've got the color of law form with the word citizen chopped out of it. I've got law code that says the word citizen can't be used to prejudice our rights.
Well, you need to send me all of that in an email. But anyway, so what I did when COVID hit, like I said, told you before the show, we're business owners. Well, during COVID, you kind of had to pick if you were an entrepreneur. Are you going to pay the rent at the place you're at, or are you going to save your own home? So we moved our business to our house. Well, my neighbor, and I hope he's watching this too, kept calling the county on me and kept calling the police on me. So finally,
ordinances are not laws.
Well, listen, I got sick of the shit, right? So I pulled up the Virginia Constitution because I carry it in my phone. And I said, do you see what this says right here? I said, this is the Virginia Constitution. It says the property owner is in complete control of his and her property without any government interference. So this is what I told him. You can't stop me from working. You can't tell me what to do on my own property. And if you feel the need to charge me, let's do that, because everybody's going to get a lesson in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody needs to get familiar with the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of their state and the Bill of Rights, all of it.
They also need to get familiar with all of the United States codes, like the peonage code and these other, because these are secondary. Now there's a criminal element. Now they're committing crime on top of violating your rights, on top of vacating their oath of office, which I've got Javier on video vacating his oath of office.
See,
because I turn around and I use Senator Schaefer's testimony, and then just one small snippet of Amin Osiris. I hope he didn't mind. I had to do it because he's in this fight too.
yeah.
But basically, I grilled him in a video. I grilled the secretary to the point where it's a matter of congressional record that he wants to change the gender of your human offspring. Under doctor's guidance, likely without your permission, because let's face it, what did he do with child support and adoption?
I just read this, the Montana Supreme Court just ruled that minors can have abortions without parental consent.
Slippery slope.
Read it.
Very slippery slope. Yeah, so they put a lien on your bank account, right?
Yeah, and I took him to court and I won.
You did? Ah, that's wonderful.
You know how I won?
How's that? That's good news.
He was so pissed at me, right? Because he was like, Miss Wise, you're telling me this paper right here is not a court order. I said, it sure is. United States versus state. Right.
Sure, it also isn't a court order. You can tell by just the fact that he's a contractor under 45 CFR 302.34 under 301.1 terms to assist the 4D crime family, or whatever. I call them that, just like Amin Osiris does, because they're an umbrella corporation. It operates within other public entities. The public is not you. That's another thing. Whenever you hear the word public in a statute, your ears should go up. That should perk your ears right up, because it's talking about the government, not you.
Okay.
Public property is government property. But when it says it in the Constitution, that's talking about the people.
Right.
And they can't misconstrue the Constitution to mean something outside of its meaning either.
Correct. So he was so mad at me because I told him that I had a real problem with people sidestepping the 14th Amendment, that they were not allowed to steal my property without due process first. He's going to tell me, you got served. I said, oh, okay.
That's another thing. That was not proper service of process.
You can't serve me 15 days after you steal my property.
Yeah, no, that violates the 14th Amendment.
So listen, after he was so mad, after I told him about United States versus Sage, he's going to throw his hand up with the paperwork and say, I'm denying your whole petition. And I looked up, I leaned up and I sat on the table and I said, and I smiled at him. I said, that was great.
Sorry, my buddy just got here.
That's
I'm
okay.
I'm on a video call right now. Yeah, thank you. Huh? No, you can chill out or whatever. I'm on the video, so let me do my thing, boss.
So wait a minute.
So what would be some questions?
Well, let me finish telling you what happened. And I told him that was great. And I looked at child support and I'll see you in federal court. His whole demeanor changed. And that's how I won.
Oh yeah, they don't like it when you threaten federal. They don't like that Article 3 judge coming in.
Okay. So I'm just gonna throw out some questions.
That is true.
So you've been doing this a while. So I know the answers to this, but I'm gonna ask the question so people can hear it from you, because sometimes they just don't listen to me. Where should they be filing their child support cases?
Your child support cases should be filed in federal court. Don't waste your time defending the legal entity known as the non-custodial parent / straw man / whatever you want to call it. Don't go to state court defending it. You should be going to federal court. I cannot offer legal advice, but that's the proper venue.
If you're fighting a CPS case, what court should you be fighting in?
Federal court.
Why?
Because it is a violation of federal law for them to violate their oath of office, and they do that when they deprive you of your fundamental right to parent under the Troxel versus Granville decisions that led to Washington versus Glucksberg, a Supreme Court case in which physician-assisted suicide right was denied, but due to that decision, the Supreme Court has ruled that a fundamental right does exist for parents to direct the care, custody, and upbringing of their minor offspring, children, whatever you want to call them. That is a fundamental right. It is ingrained in American tradition, and for them to deprive you of it is anti-American, unconstitutional, and treasonous behavior. Do not tolerate it. Sue them.
Should you ever sign a safety plan?
No.
Why not?
A safety plan, that you might as well just agree that they can come in at any time for any reason and just take your child away and do whatever the fuck they want. Do not sign that document.
What if they're coerced, threatened, or what if they're threatened or coerced?
You're gonna write if you are forced to sign, you're going to sign your name in all lowercase, and you're going to put a big capital U and a big capital D with a dot and a dot right at the end of that. And when they question you, that means under duress. Because coercion and duress are illegal, especially for public officials. They have a duty to uphold.
They're state actors.
Right, now. Right. Well, they're private. We've figured out that they're actually independent private capacity contractors that have nothing to do with the government due to the 45 CFR 302.34. But the thing of it is that they are purporting to be state entities when they're issued by the federal government, when they're not either of those, and they have no immunity because they're private persons.
When should people file a 42 USC 1983 claim?
Anytime they feel that their rights have been violated by somebody purporting or truly acting under state law. It doesn't matter. Color of state law just means they have to be claiming that they are a state actor. It doesn't matter if they're legit or not. However, if they are legit, you're going to have to carry a further burden of proof, because the burden of proof rests on he who asserts, not he who denies. So do your research.
Right. If CPS,
so that'd be anytime you feel that your constitutional fundamental rights have been violated, anytime you can enumerate one outside of the Constitution with the 9th and 10th Amendments, you can do some pretty devastating damage if you really get in there and dig your teeth.
What if CPS shows up at the school and takes the child?
That's a good one. Well, did they have a warrant?
No.
Well, that's a violation. That's actually that's child abduction, exploitation of children, child trafficking, kidnapping. Yep, kidnapping. That could be a form of genocide, really. You would issue a criminal complaint form. You'd turn them into the Department of Justice, FBI, CIA, NSA, DHS, whatever. I mean, Homeland Security, not Health and Human Services.
So I tell people, and I just did this for my own grandson and all my grandkids. I have written up a letter that clearly states, under no circumstances is anyone allowed to speak to my grandson without me being present.
Excellent.
From CPS, the police, the principal, the school board, all the way down to the janitor.
This
If
would be a
anybody-
legal and lawful notice. You can issue those.
It is. It's been notarized, and it says, if you do not follow the instructions on this paper, you will be sued in a federal courthouse under 42 USC 1983 for a violation of mine and his rights.
Yeah, that's good, man. Get out of here, man. Leave me be.
Okay, sorry, I'll leave.
For a second.
Oh,
All right, I'm back. My guy's just excited. He loves it. he's really happy that
And
I'm doing something.
I had a meeting with the principal,
All right.
and her exact words to me were, "Oh, Miss Wise, I don't want you to sue me." And I said, "Well, this is it, because every school, every hospital, every place has a contract with CPS, just like all the financial institutions have contracts with child support."
Here's a little something that people aren't aware of. The education department is under the oversight of the Department of Health and Human Services. So is child support. So is Medicaid, food stamps, drug costs. All are partially drug costs, but they always blame it on the FDA.
Well, they got to blame somebody. What's your opinion on lawyers?
Oof. I'd have to give you some corpus juris secundum, lawyer and client, or attorney and client. An attorney's first duty is to the court, not to his client.
And they lead you right to the slaughter.
Correct. Why? Because they instituted this shit.
Yes. Lawyers actually, with the legislative body, lawyers actually help write these codes.
Some of them, yeah.
But what they really need are people like us. And when I say us, I'm talking about advocates like us to look
Every
at these
average day
laws.
folk, even.
We need to look at them and say, because I'm telling you right now, there's one here in Virginia that I'm having revised somehow, some way, where the commissioner of Virginia gives the child support agency to take your property before they serve you. No, that is a 14th Amendment violation of due process.
That's actually a Fifth Amendment violation of due process, because at this point, the 14th Amendment actually applies mostly to the state when you are in a legal proceeding. But the other one, okay, what were we just talking about? Sorry about that.
The commissioner of Virginia gave the child support agency permission to seize and place liens on property before you're served.
Okay, yeah, that's a violation of the Fifth Amendment, because that's directly your physical property, as compared to the 14th Amendment, which is a substantive right that also applies to like court proceedings, or it might be the other way around. But either way, both amendments apply in this situation. So 5th and 14th.
Right. So they need people like us to say, you can't enforce this. It's a Marbury versus Madison case. No, it can
Marbury
never
versus
be enforced.
Madison. Yep. They held that an unconstitutional law, even if only partially unconstitutional, is void.
Oh,
Ab initio from its beginning, not necessarily when so branded in an open court of law.
that's right.
Which means if you can find unconstitutionality within a statute, you can yourself as a private person strike it down. Correct.
Yeah, well, I tried that. It didn't work.
Yeah, it's already stricken. You have to have the force to overtake them, which is pretty hard sometimes. You got to have the people backing you.
Yeah,
That's
well,
the
it was
difficult.
just me. It was just me by myself.
But you stood on your square, and it didn't fail you, did it?
No, but I'm like that with everybody. I stand my ground.
Yeah, yeah. No, you don't tolerate your rights being violated ever.
I don't tolerate stupidity either.
No, there's a lot of that going around. Did you? I don't know if you saw that video I made. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, you'll have to send it to me. And if you watch my very first videos with me and CPS and 12 police officers, I marched all their happy asses right out of my driveway.
But
In
you
my
threw them out of your
nightgown.
driveway, right?
Huh?
You threw them out of your driveway, correct?
Yeah, I told them that they were in violation of not just my daughter's rights, but my rights. And I marched them in my nightgown all the way down my driveway.
So here's a little bit of thing. So Franconia versus Associates, when the United States gets involved with commercial paper, it waives its immunity. It's no longer a sovereign. Sovereign doesn't answer to anybody. The state answering to the Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement. That means it waives its immunity. So it doesn't have any immunity. It doesn't get any qualified immunity because these officers are acting in a contractual capacity and not in a official capacity as any office.
But the minute you say, I'm going to sue you, they laugh because they really, truly believe that they cannot be sued, that they have immunity.
Yeah, but they do not under their own statutes. 42 USC 659 subsection I, and underneath of that, paragraph 4, they are it's just like Amin Osiris showed everybody. They don't get immunity under their own codes.
I think they all need a lesson.
Oh, they're getting taught a lesson because after I'm done with Congress, which Congress is tearing them a whole new fixture right now, and then I'm in contact with several high up government figures that'll be passing the information on to. This is not getting swept under the rug. The border czars, the Kamala Harris border czar mafia, MS-13 zeitgeist addendum is coming to an end.
MS-13
Yeah.
MS-13
Yeah.
game.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm on my this series of videos of congressional chess will paint everyone a broader picture of this man who is in charge of these family programs and really how much power his office has been unjustly given.
Well, I hope that with all these advocates, and there's not many of us, but there's enough of us, that we all have a voice and we can stand up for these people and say, this isn't right. This is not constitutional. And I really, really hope that we can make change.
Yep, this is not constitutional. Holmberg versus Holmberg, Minnesota Supreme Court case. 14th disclaimer: 14th Amendment, Equal Protections Clause, and Privileges and Immunities Clause states that the judicial decisions of one state are valid in another state, and within the federal jurisdiction, which means the state Supreme Court case of Holmberg versus Holmberg that found out that the child support process was unconstitutional is prima facie evidence of these people need to be removed and put into prison.
But we all know that's not going to happen.
Yes, yeah, it's going to happen. Yep.
Well, I hope they all go to prison. We just need to burn the whole system down and rebuild it. We have the right to rebuild our government.
Yes, we do. That is a foundational right.
Yes. We have the right to get rid of the administration we don't want and rebuild our government the way we want it.
Yep. They don't know the thunder that's the storm that's rolling in upon them. I got all their names, I got all their addresses, I know where they live, I know where they work, I know where their children go to school. I know where they can be served with documents. We're not advocating violence here. I do advocate that you should be able to raise your children in private and not have government interference trying to dictate the gender of your human offspring.
No.
For and on the record.
We should not even be having children removed, even in abusive situations, because there's been studies done that said even a child in an abusive home fares way better than a child removed and placed in foster care, because once they're in foster care, their chances of being abused are 600 more times likely to die at the hands of their foster family.
This violates all of Chapter 77 United States Code. Try looking that up once.
Send it to me.
Okay.
Yeah, because part of my thing is
This whole thing.
I want children, if they have to be removed. See, the Supreme Court of the United States has said there's only 3 ways a child can never be returned back home, and the parents' rights should never be terminated unless these 3 things happen: sexual abuse, murder, and convictions of abuse and neglect. Not because an agency says abuse and neglect. It has to be founded by criminal court. That was the Supreme Court.
Without a shadow of a doubt. And there's also Supreme Court case law that states even if your rights have been terminated, they still haven't been terminated. You can't terminate them. They're a fundamental right.
Because it's your child by DNA anyway.
It's part of natural law. That's why, because the man-made law can't supersede the natural law. So the natural law just overpowers it no matter what.
Well, not
And
only
that's the
that,
right to your human offspring. It's also because they're a Christian, biblical, ecclesiastical state. Every fucking one of them. They're a state, so they're a Christian, biblical, ecclesiastical state, which that means that the intent of the original foundation was the Christian theology, that being my Genesis 1:20 status of man as being born free, equal, and independent of my own capacity, sui juris of my own rights, not subject to any legal constraints or jurisdiction of any undue influence from any given outside source.
well, it's funny you bring up that Bible, because a lot of people don't know this. I didn't even know this until I took my course. The Constitution, our United States Constitution, is 34% from the Bible.
Yep.
34% of our
34%
Constitution
of
comes
it.
from
Yep.
the Holy Bible. Well, tell people where they can find you on Facebook, because you have a lot of good information out there. You're getting it out there. I'm friends with you, so they can find you if they're on my friends list. But tell them where they can find you, because I want you to keep educating people. I want you to come back on my show too.
I'm out here every day. Yeah, I'll definitely be back on again, because like I said, people are always going to have questions. And I've got so many answers that I'm swimming in more questions.
Well, let's do this. What are you doing on Sunday?
I mean, I ain't got nothing going on but fighting this 4D fight right now.
Okay, so why don't we bring
I backed the Social Security Administration into a corner and forced them with the law to give me my benefits that they unrightfully took from me about 20 years ago.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Why don't we bring you back on Sunday? And I'm going to just say it right now so that everybody can hear me. If you're on Sunday, I'm not talking to you, stop. If you're on Sunday, come on with your questions so that he can answer them. You want to do that?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll plan it for Sunday at 8, and you can come back on and even write down some questions just in case some people can't watch it till later. I'll write down some questions, and
Yeah.
we can just do question and answers.
Q&A. Q&A is great.
We can do that.
Yeah, I'm doing the hit pieces on the HHS secretary right now. I'm working on my second one. So I'll send you along the files pretty much for everything that I've got. Just go ahead and download them. It's going to be a lot of stuff. And then you just go peruse through it at your leisure, at your own time, and you'll catch up rather quickly with anything you may have missed.
All right. So I'm going to end the show. Don't get off. I'm going to
1
end the
second.
show, and we'll
What
see
I did
everybody
do-
back here. We'll see everybody back here on Sunday. Get your get your questions ready, and we will answer them. So hold on, Sal.
Yeah.
Oh, crap.